Yeah, so basically I'm kind of like trying to structure like a business plan for, commercial and because I'm still doing a lot of residential and I want to take this very seriously. Obviously, that's why I joined. So I'm just trying to see like obviously I like to track my numbers and I want to see like what does it take? What is the stats? Because I know what it is for residential, but I'm not sure what it is for commercial. So I
Mhm.
just wanted to know what it looks like, what's the difference, you know what I mean? It sounds to me that you're saying it takes more dials, more contacts. Like if you dial 100 numbers, you get like maybe, I don't know, 20 responses and how many leads, you know what I mean? How many can you actually convert? Like what are the chances so I can know how many calls I gotta make, you know?
Couple things I want to talk about. Number one, when you're first trying to set your business plan for this, keep in mind that if you do not have the data, anything you're doing or going to be doing when it comes to setting goals or anything like that will be making massive levels of assumptions. So what I typically recommend at the beginning is that you do not set minimum metrics other than amount of leads generated every day because you're just going to do the work, right? Like, so just every day or whatever amount of days you're going to commit to doing so, you're going to just make as many calls as required to get the result. I think too many of us get too caught up in the idea of like, all right, I'm going to make 200 dials today. Well, 200 dials might not be enough. Or 2 hours of dials today. That might not be enough. I don't know if it is enough, right? I can't just, and by the way, I can't just tell you that 2 hours is enough because that's not an accurate statement to any one person. So it's like it is, I would like all of you to hear me very clearly. It's to do enough until it happens. Do whatever it takes until the result occurs. So however much it takes, whether it's 200 dials, 2 hours, or 10 hours and 2,000 dials, I don't know. Really, like it's going to be different for everybody and everybody's skill set. That depends on the list, depends on the market you're prospecting. Because think about it, if you're calling hypothetically, if you're calling as an example, the oceanfront hotels of Miami Beach, which is incredibly prime real estate, you're probably going to get turned down 99.9% of the time. So you might have to make 1,000 dials, right, before you get one person who maybe says yes, right? Or even 1,000 conversations before you have one person who says yes. You might have that. However, if you're calling B or C market, which is not as crazy, in crazy high demand, you might have a lot higher of a likelihood of getting through to somebody who might be open to selling. So it is really, there's so many the independent factors that you just keep in mind. So whatever your goal is, like if you want to make an extra 100 grand this year, I'll tell you all the following. If you want to make an extra 100 grand in commercial real estate this year, which by the way, you can then multiply that of what you need to do if you want to make 100 grand a quarter. So just per year, I would say at minimum 2 leads a day, right? And one offer a day will get you to 100 grand extra per year. If you generated 2 seller leads per day, 2 new leads a day, which I'm not saying they have to be spectacular. I'm not saying they need to be unbelievably great opportunities. I'm just saying 2 people who are open-minded to selling every day, and then you submit one offer from a legitimate buyer every day. Now, this is just Monday through Friday, 260 days a year. So that's 520 leads per year and 260 offers submitted from a legitimate buyer. That is not a starter offer from yours truly as an example or from yourself. If you can generate 2 seller leads every day and one true offer from a legitimate buyer, I don't care, again, doesn't have to be exactly full price, but any offer legitimate from a buyer every day, that's your minimum metric, 260 days a year. You will easily make more than 100 grand. I mean, like, I'm saying minimum 100 grand. More likely than not, it will be several hundred grand. Now, if you do that times 4, right, which is 8 seller leads a day, 260 days a year, and submit 4 true offers every day, you'll probably make $1 million a year, but at a minimum, you'll probably make 400 grand, right? 4x, whatever. Right? These are just simplistic minimum metrics. I mean, like, and that's the most bare bones metric you can possibly think of, right? 2 seller leads a day, 1 true offer a day. Okay? That's the minimum metric. I don't know how many dials it's going to take. It might take you, some days it might take you 700 dials. Other days it might take you 70. Some days it might take you 7. But those metrics will help you the most.
100%. That made me definitely change my perspective on the way that I was looking at it. I was looking at it on calls, regardless of dials, right? Like you don't look at it as dials because you're right. Yeah, it's
Has
about
nothing to do with those. Zero.
yeah.
Dials is a byproduct of whatever the main. It's like it's a lead indicator, right? Like we know lag indicators, like KPIs. Like there's lead indicators and lag indicators, right? The problem is that when people only focus on dials, the problem is that you might actually get 0 result for the entire year. You could actually have a 0 for the entire year and be incredibly productive on the phone. As in, you could say, I'm going to make 200 dials a day, every day, 7 days a week. And if that is your only mental metric, that means that you could generate 0 leads every day. Now, I'm not saying it's likely, but I'm saying you could hypothetically generate 0 leads every day throughout the year. but I made 200 dials. So it's like, that's why I want you guys to all go down the path a little bit, right? To what is the actual most profitable thing that you're actually desiring. And that's what we want to go after. So if we want to get more deep into this, you could say 2 seller leads, and by the way, seller leads a day, right? Not buyer lead and a seller lead, and not one, right? Like 2 seller leads a day, 1 true offer a day. And I would even try to push you guys to set 1 appointment a day. Go shake somebody's hand every day, every single day. You do that every day, Monday through Friday, let alone Saturdays and Sundays. I mean, if you guys do 7 days a week, it'd be unfucking believable. If you do that for an entire year and you close no deals, either you're not saying the right things or something's incredibly fucked up. It'd be impossible to not make more money. Cool? So it's like, you got to track the right metrics, because even conversations doesn't mean much, right? Again, you could speak to 50 people a day. It doesn't mean anything. You get 2 seller leads every day. You got 50 seller leads a day. I mean, it would be unfucking believable, because that actually can make you money. And then again, obviously the quality of those deals is important. So it's like, and look guys, and I was even mentioning this in the live calling session beforehand. I was talking about how to generate leads from CoStar, right? From other agents, sellers. I mean, imagine if on your own, you generated 2 seller leads a day, and then all you did every night, even 3 nights a week. I'm not saying every day. I do it every night. I literally sit on my phone and I'll look through CoStar every day. Not every day you'll find something, but if you do it like 2 days a week, 3 days a week, you'll probably find another lead 2 or 3 days a week, right? That might be interesting. So now all of a sudden, now it's 2.5, now you're averaging 2.5 leads a day, 5 days a week for you to make money on. Those are the main metrics. All right, next question I have on real quick, Dan. You said, how do you get enough buyers to make an offer once a day? I feel like I can control finding 2 seller leads a day. Love it. But not sure how to do the offer part. Okay, very important aspect to the business. Remember, this industry, commercial real estate, very different than residential. Where in residential, you could just list the property on the market. You don't have to actually have the buyer, right? Like, it's not important. You don't need to have a buyer, right? You can actually, make a lot of money and never represent a buyer, ever. In commercial, it is not like that at all, right? You need to have both sides of the coin. You must have the seller leads and you direct the seller, and you must have the buyer leads if you want to make some substantial money. Now, obviously, look, if you happen to be in states where I have, you could be working with somebody like myself, I might have the buyers for you, so you might only need to represent one side. I mean, you're shooting yourself in the foot of how much money you're going to make, right? Because you're only going to represent half of the deal. But to work on, the buyer side of the business, I would tell you the following, okay? Couple quick things, okay? Multiple different points here. 1, while you're dialing for seller leads, you're going to constantly be pivoting the script, constantly shifting the script, constantly adjusting in the conversation, constantly, if they don't want to sell, you want to pivot to a buyer lead. So you're going to be constantly generating these buyer leads every single day while you're prospecting for seller leads. 1, 2, you want to vet these buyers as much as you possibly can. Stop working with first-time investors. Stop, please, for the love of God. They're the most annoying people on planet Earth. They will run you ragged. Okay, it's like the first guy. It's like the person who wants to buy their first 2-family, 3-family, or 4-family. Okay, in residential, in commercial, the first-time investors are an absolute pain in the. Now listen, it's a little bit different if they want to own or occupy it. All right, I'm going to just say a blank statement real quick. Okay, if they want to own or occupy a warehouse and they're the first-time buyer, it can be actually fairly lucrative. Okay, so I'm not trying to say everybody, but if they're an investor specifically and it's a first-time investor, they are an absolute pain in the. And I'm telling you, I've had substantially more success with a seasoned investor. And by the way, these seasoned investors work with 30 brokers, a dozen brokers, half a dozen brokers. They work with a ton of brokers. Every investor that I do business with works with a lot of different brokers, and they're okay with it. And you should be okay with it too, because you're not going to find them 100% of their product every year. All you need to do, you have a lead. You then are going to look on Reonomy, CoStar, PropStream, CREsync, whatever the software you want to pull leads on. Okay, it does not matter. They're all basically the same. And you're going to look at properties that have sold in the last 12 months that is a similar product to what you have, your subject property, whatever it is, any type of asset class. You are then going to call up those individuals and get to know them a little bit, because obviously if they just bought something 6 months ago for $7.5 million, what is the likelihood that they probably can buy another one if it was an investment, right? They didn't occupy it. Probably pretty high. If they just bought a building for $7.5 million and you happen to have a $4 million property 2 blocks away, similar asset, identical asset class, warehouse to warehouse, retail to retail, multifamily to multifamily, car wash to car wash, gas station to gas station, whatever it is, the same thing. They just bought something for $7.5 million and you have something for $4 million. I would highly fucking recommend you call them, because the odds of them being able to buy it is high. It's that simple. And we've just done that for literally an entire decade. And you end up building some buyers, and some of them are going to be on a VIP list because they, listen, what happens is once you've vetted these buyers out and you talk to them and you have these conversations, you figure out exactly what they're looking for, what they've bought in the past, right? Because obviously past history will prove, it will predict the future. You are all then going to try to create something called a VIP buyer list. Next step is now your VIP buyer list. Now you have all these buyers, right? You have Dozens of buyers, hundreds of buyers maybe over the course of a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. Okay, you have all these buyers. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to vet them to a VIP list. And the VIP list has the following metrics. They own at least 2 properties. They own at least 2 properties. They buy at least 1 property per year. They're an active buyer, right? Like if the guy owns 3 or 20 properties and hasn't bought something in 25 years, that person is less active than somebody who owns 2 properties and bought 1 property in 2024 and 1 property in 2025 and is looking to buy another one. You understand what I'm saying? So they must be active. And then the last metric is that you have a very clear idea of exactly what they're looking for. Okay? Very clear idea. Because obviously, if somebody you're speaking to owns, let's say, 4 properties. They bought 2 properties last year in 2024. All 4 of their properties are multifamily. They're anywhere between 8 units and 40 units. And you randomly come across a retail shopping center. Do you think you should bring that retail shopping center to that investor? No. That would be stupid. Because if you bring a retail shopping center to a multifamily investor, they're gonna be like, no, it's overpriced, even though it might not be overpriced because they're not a retail shopping center investor. Now, if you happen to have a multifamily property and you have this investor who owns 4 multifamily properties between 8 and 40 units in a specific town, right? All in a specific town. And you find another multifamily, let's say it's 15 or 20 units in that specific town, what is the likelihood that they will buy it? Pretty high. So it is about having this VIP list and building it and sculpting it over time. Guys, you only need like 3 or 4 or 5 buyers in every asset class. That's it. Last thing is buyer capacity. Biggest mistake people make is they don't understand their buyer capacity. This is one of the biggest reasons why most real estate agents and wholesalers up when it comes to the commercial real estate side of the business, because you need to have the buyer list, okay? Buyer capacity is very crucial. Let me explain what I mean. If you have 4 people on your VIP list right now, which every single one of you should have at least 4 buyers, okay? I mean, I'll even say 2. I'll make it really easy, where every single one of you should have 2 buyers right now, okay? 2 buyers in your VIP list. Let's say, as an example, these 2 guys or women, whoever, these 2 buyers, let's say that they each own 3 properties, okay? They each own 3 properties, and you know that they're active to buy at least, let's say, 1 property in the next 12 months each. And they each have the ability to buy 1 property. Everything they own has been around the price point of between $2 and $3 million. So they are more likely than not, they have the capacity to buy, let's just say, I'm going to do $3 million as an example, $3 million times 2 buyers, that's $6 million worth of deals this year. That's your buyer capacity. You have $6 million worth of buyer capacity. So if you're trying to make 200 grand this year, and let's just say an average of 5% commission, 200 grand, 5% commission is like what, $4 million bucks? You need to sell $4 million worth of real estate this year to make 200 grand at 5%. But here's the thing. Your buyer capacity is only $6 million bucks. So it's going to be very difficult for you to make $4 million worth of transactions. What's likely is that you're probably going to have maybe 10, 20, or 30% of your total buyer capacity. So I'll give you an example of what I have right now. Our total buyer capacity from all my agents on my team, every buyer that we've generated, everything that's going on in our business right now, our total buyer capacity is about $2 billion a year. $2 billion in property transactions per year. That does not, by the way, that number might sound high, but remember, we're not able to transact 100% on the $2 billion. I'm not going to find them 100% of the properties they're going to buy this year, but my investor buyer database, my VIP list, has a capacity to buy over $2 billion of property this year. Again, I'm not going to fulfill 100% of it. I'm probably going to fulfill somewhere between 10 and 30% of that request, right? Like they're looking to buy $2 billion this year. Total of the 40, 50, 60 buyers on this list, $2 billion worth of property this year, right? A bunch of guys are 20 million, 10 million, 15 million, 50 million, 100 million, right? All over the place. $2 billion worth of property. This is why our team is able to sell a few $100 million a year, and it doesn't seem that difficult. But when you have a buyer capacity that's only $5 million worth of properties this year, it will be very difficult to make any serious money.